Hold on.
Okay, I'm holding on.
You ready?
Okay, we're live now.
Okay, hi everyone. We're back with the online cookout with Jamare, Collins, and Sophia. And tonight we're going to be talking about youth entrepreneurship. And we're going to introduce a special guest, Maggie Lane, who is hands on with youth entrepreneurial events in the community. And yeah, let's get started.
All right, welcome, Maggie. Can you see us all again?
Yes.
Hi,
Welcome,
Maggie.
welcome. Hi.
Okay, so let's just get started. So, Maggie, I found out about the youth entrepreneurial event because a lot of people were resharing posts on social media about the event. So, of course, I started looking into the pictures and the things that people were saying because I'm like, this is really cool. And then I saw that you were a part of it, and I recognized you because I've seen you doing community outreach in my neighborhood that I grew up in. And I was like, hey, that's cool. I know her. And I reached out to you because I thought it would be really cool for you to sit in and discuss with us the mission that you guys were on when you decided to put an event like that together. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everyone who you are, your title, and then let us know how you guys even thought of something like that to introduce to the community and to the youth.
Okay, first off, I'm Maggie Lane, and I would call myself maybe a event coordinator or community event organizer. Um, the idea came about because I said, you know what? I have my sunglass business, and I said I'm always going to networking events, and you always see adults doing networking. I was like, wouldn't it be cool? Because you really don't see a lot of things for kids, and they have business, and I've been seeing a lot of awesome kids um, promote their businesses through their parents
Mhm.
or on Instagram, Facebook. So I just thought it would be a great idea to get at least 25 kids that have their own business and just have them come in a space, a safe space, and introduce their businesses. And, you know, the fun thing about it was to see the kids support each other with no problem. They were going around spending money amongst each other and introducing themselves. So that was the main goal, to have a safe place for the kids to showcase their business and build new relationships.
Mhm. Mhm. And so how did you guys organize it? Did you guys help the kids get their things together so that they are prepared, like their tables, what they were going to sell, how much they were going to sell it for? Or did you guys just put out a memo and then kids just came with what they had?
So it was just I made up a flyer. I posted it on my page. I also posted it in different groups like South Florida vendors. But the main group that I seen a lot of support from was the Black Business Group
Hmm.
that is organized by Rochelle Davis.
Hmm.
That's where a lot of the kids I found, their parents on there. And so I just made a flyer, posted it, and had them contact me. They paid one flat fee. They made up their own prices. They brought their own product, and that was
Hmm.
basically it.
So it was really kid led.
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
100%, 100%.
Awesome. Awesome. So Maggie, why is this important? Why is it important that our kids have a vessel that they can express themselves in an entrepreneurial way in their community? How does that help them? How does it help our community? Can you speak to that?
I feel that it's important because, for number one, it's going back to our roots as Black people, especially. We've come from the bottom and worked our way up. You have a lot of our ancestors that own their own businesses and
Mhm.
instilled it and passed it along to their kids.
Mhm.
And I just feel that it's important to get back to the entrepreneur spirit that we have already as Black people. And I think it's awesome to leave a legacy. I have nieces and nephews, and my goal is to leave something for them,
Mm-hmm.
as well as whenever I have kids, to be able to leave something to them.
I love that. And Carver Ranches, anybody who grew up in Carver Ranches, it really was a neighborhood with entrepreneurship. Like there were
Right.
entrepreneurs everywhere, including my grandfather, including Mr. Hank. Like all of these people had their own stores, had their own lawn services, had their own entertainment companies, my uncles and my dad. So it's kind of like it is a part of our roots, like getting back to it when you actually go to Carver Ranches and put out an event like that for youth. It's kind of like, let's get back to this and let's start with the youth in the community. And I like that. And I recently have been thinking, oh, I wish I had something that I could give to my kids. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
self-reflect on things that I'm passionate about and think about how I can even start something that I would love to include my kids with, because it is a part of who we are. If you came from that neighborhood, you probably had somebody who was bringing in money from their own accord, not necessarily going to a 9 to 5 every day. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes, because I grew up with a father that owned his own landscaping company. That's all I've ever known him to do, since I could remember. But my mom, she always worked. But I just could remember, it's just me and my sister. He never had no son. But I'm like, that could have been something. Now that he's older, I'm sure he could have passed that along. And then I think about too, how that mentality should have been, passed on
Yeah,
earlier,
on
then I
purpose
think you
too.
could have
Yeah.
maybe thought more into it and help expand it.
Hey guys,
If
I'm
that,
hearing feedback. So what can we do to stop that?
I
You
thought I
guys
was hearing
hear
that
it?
as well.
So maybe
If
somebody
someone
has
has,
their the live video up. You have to turn the volume off.
Is it coming from mine?
Well, I don't know. It's
no,
off.
it's
I
not.
hear it. We're good. Wait, we're not good. Okay, we'll just keep it moving. But yeah, so Jamare and Collins are entrepreneurs. And so can y'all talk about what if you guys had experienced something like this when you guys were children or teenagers and were able to start getting in a business minded habit with products or ideas, creativity, anything like that? Do you guys feel like it would have sent you down a different path, or do you feel like you can't really process entrepreneurship until you're an adult and you can actually get out there?
Hmm. Well, I can answer first. My father owned his own business, right? He when I was maybe 3, 4, and 5, he worked for a company. Right? He's a master carpenter, and he worked for a company building houses and entire neighborhoods and things like that. But when I was around 6 or 7, he left and started running his own business. He was doing contracting for himself, and brought me to work every day. That I was out of school, and I learned from him the specific trade of carpentry and masonry and things like that. I learned that trade at growing up, and he always had me take phone calls for him to actually, I guess now and in retrospect, to teach me that I can run my own business and things like that. But I never had like the tutelage necessarily to say, hey, you can run your own business. This is how you can run your own business. It was more just like, okay, this is the business and you're going to help me run it. It was just, that was the option. And he specifically didn't want me to do that business. He did not want me to be in construction, but he wanted me to know how to do it. Right. Just so that if I ever needed to do it for my own house, or somebody came to do it on my home, then I would know if they're messing up or doing something bad. But I never actually had like the specific encouragement, hey, run your own business. However, at 15, I did get the opportunity to like be in a band. And I was making money in a band, and then the band wasn't paying me properly. And then my dad said, "Hey, you're the star of the band anyway. You can do this on your own if you want." And he sent me to a mentor that was already doing gigs and things like that. And he said, "Hey, ask him what you need, and I'll get you the equipment." So my first investor in my own business was my dad. All right. And he bought me the equipment that I needed to, the speakers and the instruments and the little tape, the mini disc tape player. And then I got with someone in the community that was doing music to give me the little discs, like pre-recorded music so that I could play to it, and that was the beginning of my doing my own business at 15 years old. Well, actually at that point, by that time I was 16. So my question to you is, like, if someone necessarily doesn't have a parent that is already with the entrepreneur mindset or things like that, how can they encourage their kids when kids have ideas or to come up with ideas and then make those things into businesses? Because that's something that I think is really important, but I think a lot of parents don't really know how to, because we were raised more or less to be employees, not to
Right.
And we were weird. We were bad. We were against the grain. We weren't, we were outside. We told, "Hey, get a job. Make sure you get a job." And then we were encouraged, you have to go to school, you have to go to college, you have to get your
Exactly.
You weren't encouraged to
Entrepreneur.
be your own boss, create your own products, market yourself, network yourself, do your things yourself, so that you're the one that's paying employees instead of being the employee that's paid. That was against the grain, and that was actually seen as something bad. And even millennials now are getting a bad rap, for wanting to get a job. Like, no, I don't want to get a job. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. Like, I want to do something that I'm passionate about. So how can we encourage our kids to do that? Like our next generation that's coming up, like, to step in that field, and then what are like the first steps that they can do?
That would be a question for Maggie. Answer that, Maggie. Collins was hit it right on the money, because as you were saying, like, to get back to entrepreneurship in the community, I thought about what happened with our generation that we kind of let that go. And I do feel like we were extremely encouraged to go to college. It was all about go to college and get a good job, go to college, even though we lived in houses with entrepreneurs. So,
Sophie, that's coming from you.
You think it's coming from me?
Yeah,
I don't have anything on.
That was me. My dad was like, "No."
I don't know, when you talk, I can hear the feedback.
I can hear when everybody talks.
Oh,
yeah, I can hear when everybody's talking too. Can you not hear? Oh, okay. Yeah. So Maggie, can you answer that for us? Like, what can we do?
Volume down.
I would say the only thing is to encourage them to go to events like this, and find their kids' passion. Like, if your kid loves taking pictures, encourage them to be that photographer. If your kid loves planning or anything with their hands, or your daughter comes and says, "I want to make tutus," go to the fabric store and help her. Let's go on YouTube. Let's see how we're going to make these tutus. Encourage that passion. I feel that's very important, to encourage your kids' passion, whatever it may be.
I agree. Do you too, Sophie? Do you, Maggie and Sophie, do y'all have headsets?
No.
I
turn my volume down though, just in case it's me.
What's happening is when we speak, it's playing in your speaker and then playing back
into the microphone, right?
Into the microphone. Yeah, that's what's going on. What I would say to answer the question as well, Collins, is, as a parent, you definitely have to be aware of your children's talents. Okay, so one of my children is they can draw very well, and so my wife does painting with a twist with them in the garage. Bring them sketchbooks. She just took them to a workshop in the Sunrise Conventional Center, whatever that place is called, and had them do a workshop with drawing. So just that cultivating of your kids' talent. Okay, one of the things that I do see as far as business and entrepreneurship that kind of goes awry and within our culture is that we have a lot of sole proprietorships. Okay. And what a sole proprietorship pretty much is when I stop working, so does my business. When I die, so does my business. You follow me? So if you don't build an actual organizational structure in place that when something happens to you, the business continues to move on. If you see, like, Steve Jobs created Apple, Steve Jobs is dead, but Apple is still going on. Okay. So you're not just giving your kids ownership of the actual company, but you're actually creating a company to have shares. And so they may not run your company because, as Colin said, they may not have the tutelage to run a company or even have the ambition to do what you did, but they have still the ownership when it comes to having shares within that company that you left for them, which could be a controlling amount of shares in the long run. So that's what I see. This is one of the reasons why, if you say you've seen your parents have businesses, but some of your parents have businesses that the kids weren't interested in, right? And also they have businesses so that you can go to school. So they're like, here, I have to do a lawn service because I may not be having the education to do anything further than this. So I want you to go to school, not realizing that when you're sending them to school, and a lot of us still don't know when we get to college exactly what we want to do, is now we're choosing major after major after major after major, not really for sure what we're doing. And you're sending your kids into the cycle of debt. Right. And now that's hurting them, that when they do want to do a business, now their credit's messed up. They have this student loan that's $200,000. And that kind of messes it up. So when they finally do want to start a business, it's much later into their life. They're in their early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, when they're starting their liabilities start to decrease a little bit, and then they're able to invest in their business.
So now I actually remember, Maggie, there was this one family somewhere in the Midwest, and their kids made these little bottle caps, and they painted little stuff on the bottle, like they pressed the bottle caps flat. They painted little stuff on the bottle caps, and they put a hole through them, and they made like necklaces out of it. And that's a little project that they had, that they were doing, and then they would bring them to school and sell them to their friends. The parents said, "Oh, if you like this, hey, sell them." So they brought it to school, and then the orders started getting too much for them, so that they actually employed some of their friends, to help them draw and make the things and stamp the things out and do things like that. So they actually created employees from their friends in school, and they were millionaires within a year or two.
Wow.
Right. So like just within a couple of years, right? And the company went nationwide, and the one thing that really stood out to me was that the parents saw the potential in their little art project.
Exactly.
And then they invested in it, and then they told them, "Hey, go and get your friends to help you work, right? To help you do this stuff, and then give them, you can pay your friends, and then they can be." And like, that's something that I didn't see in my community growing up, like the encouragement of whatever, like what Jamare said, like their natural talents, or whatever they love, whatever they enjoy.
Exactly.
Encourage that. There is now a 13-year-old kid who is a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, because he played video games and beat everybody else at video games. And his parents are, and I do my best to try and encourage them to like on Facebook and things like that. When I see, he says he want to be a gamer, and he just wanted that's all he want to do. I'm like, well, you do know that there's a 13-year-old kid who now bought his family a home and got his family out of debt because he played video games better than other people. He beat pro gamers, like streamers.
There are more kids than just a 13-year-old that won the money. And I think that's another thing. One of my concerns is we definitely, Maggie, I definitely would like to attend one of your events. So we got to find out how we can support that as well before we end the show. But definitely just the tech world. Okay. I'm always encouraging my kids to, utilize YouTube for good, right? I tell my students, YouTube is like either a superhero or a supervillain, depending on how you utilize it. If you want to learn how to draw, you can find that on YouTube. You want to learn how to invest in stocks, you can find it on YouTube. You want to learn how to invest in real estate, you can find it on YouTube. But a lot of people get into the consuming area of YouTube, and they're just watching other people do nothing, make them laugh, or watching movies, whatever, and they're not utilizing a good aspect of what they can do. So my interest is always, as Collins alluded to, is to get our kids more into the tech space as far as the gaming industries,
Right.
Building apps for mobile devices and things of that nature, because that is where the world is going. Okay. Even from, I tell people, you got to definitely have your money in three things: stocks, real estate, and intellectual property, whether it be writing scripts, movies, inventions that you can get a copyright, a patent, things of that nature, because that's intellectual property. That's one of the things that you can write one book that can feed your family for generations. Look at the books that we recommend to people when we talk about entrepreneurship. We say The Law of Success, Think and Grow Rich. Those books have been around since the early 1900s, and those families are still being able to generate an income from something that was written almost 100 years ago. Okay.
And Maggie, what are some of the businesses that you've seen these kids having? Like, what are the products that they're offering? What are the services that they're offering?
Yeah.
I think anywhere from clothing boutiques, bath bombs, ices, lemonade stands, trading cards, handmade jewelry,
Wow. Okay.
baking. I had a boy. He was a baker. He came there and sold slices of cake. And little girls empowerment group, Little Hills with a Purpose. They're all about being positive and doing things in their community. They came out. It was a lot of different variety. It was a different variety.
I could tell. Okay, so Maggie, now I know you because I know that you do a lot of community outreach. As far as like family readiness and kids being able to communicate and stuff like that. That was how I first met you. What do you think is the role of mentorship in the entrepreneurial movement? Because kids definitely need to have a family who can push them, and if they hear that the kid has an interest, put them out there. But what role do we put the mentor in, like how people should be available to them so that they can go to them for guidance in business and understanding how finances work in business and things like that?
I think that is huge. Mentorship is very much needed, even for adults. As adults, we need mentorship. I think it's very important for kids to have a safe person to go to, someone to look up to,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, that person to push them, and having, even if it's not their family, which that's the most important, to have family support. But I think even if it's someone on the outside saying, hey, you could do this, you got this, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Mm-hmm.
extremely important, and I think that's something that you'll need all your life. Me as an adult, I look for mentorship. You're never too old to learn. I'm
Right.
big on that. You're never too old to learn. And I think building relationships and
Yeah.
having good relationships is very, very important, especially in having businesses.
Yeah. And that's what the kids could have received also, is being able to see other kids doing something like this with
Exactly.
a whole nother product or a whole nother idea. So did you get a chance to talk to the kids afterwards or even during and see what it was that they took away from the event?
Um, I did go around and talk to them, but that I did not. I
Mm-hmm.
did not go around and ask them, what they took away from it. This was my first one. I'm going to do another one, and I'll be sure to, make sure I ask that question. That's a good question to ask.
And when are you planning the next event?
Well, the next expo, I'm trying to do it maybe in March, this coming March, because I got a lot of good feedback from this one. So I'm thinking about doing it in March.
I saw it all over.
So when you have the flyers,
my next event, I'm doing a toy giveaway and a pajama Christmas party. That's the next thing I'm doing for the kids. A pajama Christmas party and toy giveaway.
Oh, that's the next event that's coming up before Christmas, right? What day would that be?
December 21st.
December 21st. What location?
Carver Wrenches Daycare Center inside the Resource Center auditorium.
And are people able to donate toys and things of that nature?
Yes, I'm looking for donations and sponsorship, because I know a lot of times with toy giveaways, you usually come with your parent, you get the toy, and you go home. I wanted to do something different to make this like a full experience for the kids, completely free. I've had the parents sign up on Eventbrite. I cut it off at 50 because that was the number that just came to me. And I said, well, let me just try it out first with 50 kids and see how it goes and what I could do. But I want them to come. I'm going to have a DJ, a Santa. I'm going to have different activities for them to do. And then towards the end of the night, I'm going to give them a gift. So they'll have pizza and drinks and all that stuff and have a good time.
Awesome.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
So I had a question. Okay, so let's say I'm a parent. I don't, piggybacking off of Sophie's question a little bit. Like, okay, so let's say I'm a parent. I didn't own my business. My parents didn't own businesses. I don't know anybody that run their own businesses. Everybody I know is employees, right? My kid has a great idea or a talent. They can draw, or they love, baking, or whatever it is that they enjoy to do. And I want to cultivate that, but I don't know about business, and I don't know who to send them to turn that great passion project into a viable business where they can get income. And, I don't know any mentors. How would you recommend they find a mentor, to teach their kid about the business? Like, how would we go about finding that person or those people or that community or that group?
Okay, I would say hopefully that parent is on social media, because that's the world we live in. There are a lot of different groups. Like I said, I found a lot of the kids that participated in the expo from the group Black Business.
Okay.
On Facebook. And like I said, there's tons of groups on there. So even if you just, as a parent, make a post, say, hey, my son is an awesome drawer, and maybe post some pictures of his drawings and say, I really want to get him a mentor, and can you recommend anybody? Because people are asking for recommendations on social media all the time.
Exactly.
I know a lot of people don't like social media. A lot of people think the bad, negative thing of social media, but I, for one, am all for social media because I see it as a tool to reach a bigger audience. And I think that is very, very necessary. And that's the time that we live in. It's all about social media and the internet and, things like that.
For sure. And then even parents could just do homework, get online and find somebody who is in the local area who does what your kid is interested in, and ask them. As a matter of fact, teach your child how to write a letter and let them type up a letter to that business owner, and introduce themselves. There are just so many skills that could be learned in the whole world of entering entrepreneurial businesses and I would just take advantage of all those skills. Write down all these steps that your kid can take, and then get them out there and let them learn how to be brave early on, how to introduce themselves early on. Because some of these skills, some of us are adults and we're still a little shy about introducing ourselves to people.
And exactly. And that's me. I'm mainly a person. I like to be behind the scenes. Oh,
We get
Uh-oh.
we were hearing that. We were hearing. She said, "Oh, she clicked the button."
Maybe she'll come right back. But we could continue, and hopefully she'll be back in a minute or so. But
that feedback is killing me.
The feedback?
I don't hear.
Oh, I never hear when Collins is speaking though.
I don't hear when Collins speaking either.
Oh, okay. So it was just her and you?
No, it's just everybody except you. And I still hear. We've never had this before, right?
But that's technical difficulties. That's just going to happen as we grow, as we go on and do things. So to the viewers that are there, we're growing. This is one of our entrepreneurial, things. And like in life, everything that you do, you will have difficulties along the way. So bear with us, live with us. We apologize for the technical difficulties. We're going to work through it and troubleshoot it.
Sophie, text her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, text her.
Just tell her go and click back on the link.
You know what? Being a successful business owner, right? Myself, because I consider myself successful because I've been able to live based off of my business and not being an employee necessarily. I mean, I guess it would be as a musician, I would be at times employee because I would be a musician for this band or this artist or a producer. But the business was my own business. And I would say encourage and prepare your kids for the possibility that it might not be easy, and also encourage yourself because you will hit, barriers because it's not necessarily going to be easy. Even the most successful business owners, they've had multiple businesses fail, and they still, they try it again.
Oh yeah. And that's why I think, her events, once we get her back in, her events are very important just for people within any community because, you have situations where parents don't know how to cultivate their children's desires and ambitions because not everybody is perfect in that way. Not everybody understands business. So I think, being able to go to events, even posting them, going within your community, talking to people within the community, letting them know these type of events exist. I remember when we were in Titusville, Florida, we were doing a home buyer workshop, and I went to the community. I went to the church. I went to the grocery store, and I stood out there and I let them know, hey, there's an event going on right now that's going to teach you the process of buying a home. And some of them like, oh, right now? I'm like, right now. And they went right over there. So it's the same thing that, we have to do when it comes to encouraging our youth to be entrepreneurs. We have to go out there and let them know that guess what? You can create your own cereal box company. You can create your own mobile app company. You can do these things. Entrepreneurship, it encompasses all things. Everything that we use can become a business. And that's how I see the world. I see the world in businesses. There's nothing that I look at that I don't say, man, I can definitely do something like that. Or, because there's nothing really new under the sun. Right. And if we look at it, I tell people, if you paid attention to what food is doing right now, even from the organic standpoint, there are a lot of companies that came out of this organic movement that weren't around before. It's very small companies, because big companies, it's hard for them to allocate their resources to create an organic, an organic bread. And so what they do is they get into the business of acquisitions. They see that this organic company is doing very well. Okay, we're going to buy that company and have them continue to run like they were doing.
But then
example, Example, Amazon purchasing Whole Foods. You see what I'm saying? Just companies acquiring other companies that are already doing something in that field, because they don't have to take money to invest in something that they don't know is a viable business. When I look at Whole Foods, I see it's a viable business. It's been around for a while. They can show me how much money they're making for the past 10 years. And now I can see it's a company that makes money. I can buy them out. Right? Same thing with YouTube. YouTube was bought out by Google, right? This is what companies do. And so if we can get our kids to understand that you can build something that can later on be profitable, whether you decide to sell something or keep it for yourself, it doesn't have to be something huge. It can start off by selling books online, Amazon, right? It's that simple. But what I had to learn to do was, as an entrepreneur, is scale back, because we see the big vision and it's hard for us to see the simplicity in our idea. So we have to scale all the way back and see the very simple thing in our idea. And that is to sell books, stream DVDs send out DVDs by the mail, when our ultimate plan is to start a streaming service. All these things can be done by kids if they're able to go to these events. And if you see most of the people that I think it's Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, their dad taught them how to take apart computers, at the age of 10 years old. Okay. And then look what they did, so Sophie, she able to come back in?
She said that she is coming back in. She said that when her phone received a call, it knocked her out off. So I let her know she just has to go back to the email and,
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, Jamare, now, when it comes to the specific learning the business aspect of it, right? The kids know how to draw, right? There's so much that goes into a business that isn't really known until you actually start running a business.
Facts.
Right? Keeping those, balancing those books and making sure what you're investing is returning, or has a potential to return. So you're not in the black, you're not in the red, you're in the black, as far as your finances goes and things like that. Where would you recommend them? Is it the same thing as you do? Like, where would you recommend that they learn how to make sure that business becomes a viable, source of income?
Where would they go?
Yeah,
I would say for any business, it requires experience. You may be creating something new that has never been done before. So you may not know where to go. You may not know how much it's going to cost for this business to start, but you got to write everything down. You have to plan accordingly, and you have to see. It's like playing chess. You have to see all the variables that can affect your business, right? But at the end of the day, it's not as complicated as people make it seem. Okay, for the most part, you're not a tax person. You leave that for your tax person, right? You got to find out what your skill set is within that business. That's your focus. If you can figure out what your skill set is and you can translate that to several businesses, right? That's your skill set. That is your skill. So what is your skill? Your skill may be presenting ideas to people. And now you create a business where you present other people's ideas because that's what you're good at, right?
Right. So would you encourage? Sorry. So the follow-up question: would you encourage the kids then to not only once they start the business, but just to find out what the players are that are necessary in that business? Say they're a baker. They have a baking business, but you're going to need someone in sales. Maybe they bake; they're not very good salespeople.
Facts.
Right? So
just because you can cook,
find somebody who's a salesman. Hey, one of your friends might be a great salesman. Like, who do you know that can sell stuff? Right.
Because you may be good at cooking, but you may just be horrible at sales. That's just not your skill set. Your skill set is creating. That's your skill set. You know what I'm saying? Your skill set is just not cooking. Your skill set is creating.
That's very powerful. That's very
because
powerful.
anybody can cook, but not everybody can create.
You know what? I think a lot of people, myself included, stop themselves in their tracks when they think about being an entrepreneur because they're thinking about the big picture, all that it takes to be one. But if they thought about it like that, what is your skill? And then find the people with the other skills that you need. It would make it so much easier to step out and try, you know?
And
That's
that's why, and
how I've
that's,
been looking at it. I've been like, okay, I'm clearly not going to do all
but
that. I'm not going
so,
to, you know?
but that's why you have to go about, and I know it's cliche, but changing your circle. And I realized that every year, I've increased my income just by increasing my circle, right? Like I go to places that I wouldn't normally go to. I get into fields that I didn't think that I would get into because it changes your initial circle. Remember, the people that are around you, a lot of times the reason why you're not an entrepreneur is because the people around you are not entrepreneurs. You follow me? But then when you become an entrepreneur, the people around you can't really assist you because they're not on that level of thinking. They're not on that frequency, right? So they don't understand what you're doing. And then the only thing they're looking at you is like, man, you better not be asking me for no money, right? So now you have to change your circle. You have to get around other entrepreneurs. And then once you get around other entrepreneurs, that frequency begins to match up and you begin to learn things that you didn't know when you first started. Okay. I had to learn that what was my skill set? What am I good at? And now, since I realize my skill set, people may say, oh, he's doing this, that. But if they look at my skill set is in all those things. So it's not hard for me to do anything because it doesn't distract me from what I'm good at. What I'm good at is presenting information and creating new things, right? And seeing businesses and whatever I look at, right? So when you can do that, now you'll begin to attract those people that you need to make your business viable. How are you going to attract those people? Not by sitting in a house. So one of the first things I tell young people is you have to be social. I don't know too many people that are antisocial that make money, right? You have to be social. You have to get out there. You have to make yourself uncomfortable, right? Put yourself in uncomfortable situations until those situations become comfortable. When you become comfortable after being uncomfortable for a long period of time, you actually develop a new skill set. That's the only way you can survive, right? If I put you in the jungle, right, and you have no skill sets to survive, but if I come to you 6 months later and you're still alive, that means you learned some skills to stay alive.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
then,
that simple.
So that would be, so to the parents, the message that I'm getting, and correct me if I'm wrong, to the parents that, have these children that are growing up in this time of, super sensitivity, I'll just call it that, wanting to protect their kids from everything because of the politically correct world, which I do believe a part of it is awareness of certain issues. That's a great about what's happening today, right? We are aware of certain issues. But I think the approach to those issues, as in you're now have to protect your kid from all of these things and all of these issues, like bullying has been around since the beginning of time. It's not going to stop. Instead of trying to stop kids from being bullies, because you're not really going to stop those kids from being bullies. Teach your kids who are being bullied how to deal with being bullied, right? How to deal with things that trigger them, right? As opposed to hoping that other people will stop triggering them. That's not really realistic, and if one of those uncomfortable things is talking to people, or enrolling people in what you're up to, you're gonna want to encourage your kid to be uncomfortable, and it sounds scary a little bit when I think of it from a parental perspective, to be encourage your kid. If you're uncomfortable, it's okay. Like, if somebody's touching you in your no-no spot, that's uncomfortable. Back away, go and tell somebody, right? And you tell them, well, Ma, I don't want to go talk to these people and ask them if they want to buy my cookies, well, son, you're gonna have to do it,
Let me tell you one thing that I tell people when they say they're not good in sales. Okay, anybody that's ever been on a job interview, right, which is most people that have a job, you're in sales. You're selling yourself. You're showing them, hey, this is why you should hire me. And guess what? If you're not good at selling yourself in an interview, the person that is will get the job, even if you know more information than the person before you or after you that came. If I can sell myself to the people and make them believe that I know more and I will be better at this position than all the people that you interviewed, I'm going to get the job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So in some fashion or form, you are in sales. Even if if I go back to what you stated earlier about the person that that knows how to cook very well. Well, I still have to sell the fact that I can cook very well to somebody who's going to sell my goods for me. So I have to sell it to them at least. I need you to sell this for me. Why should I sell it for you? Man, here, try this. If you're not good at presenting that information, them cookies or whatever them pastries to the person, they're not going to be interested. So at some point along the way, you're going to be in sales. Everybody's an entrepreneur because everybody's being subcontracted for their services. Everybody is. So you have to see yourself as such. And this is why they pay you per hour. They're saying based on your education, based on your skill set, this is how much you're worth. But if you know how much you're worth, and if you're an entrepreneur, you say, you know what, I'm not willing to, get up out of bed for, $15 an hour at all. You're gonna have to pay me more money, right? And if you carry yourself like that, there's no, it's not bad to be an employee. It's bad to be an employee if that's the only thing that you're doing and you're complaining about having money.
Okay, so I have a resource for the parents that are out there to help them in teaching their kids or in encouraging their kids when they're starting their businesses and they have to enroll people into their company, right? To do those certain aspects that maybe your kid is not necessarily good at, or but they're all the elements of that are necessary for having the business. And parents, get your set out and your whatevers and get ready to or mark this moment in time in the video, 47 minutes and 15 seconds or whatever, because this is going to be a valuable lesson that you can teach your kids and yourself as well on how to have an enrollment conversation, because that's basically what we're talking about in this aspect. Okay, your kid has this awesome idea. There are some other players that they're going to need on their team, right, in order for this idea to be full and actually come to fruition. So I learned this from a resource called Landmark Education. It's a really cool seminar that I've learned a bunch of really cool tips and tricks about being human. Right, but this one is called an enrollment conversation. Right, enrollment and registration conversations. So the first step of an enrollment conversation is basically what is enrollment is causing a new possibility to be preset for another, so that they are touched, moved, and inspired by that possibility. That's the purpose of enrollment. You want them to be moved, touched, or inspired by the possibility that you're creating for them. It could be baking, it could be gaming, it could be whatever it is. All right. So the cause would be possibility, and the result would be the other person is touched, moved, and inspired by the possibility you've invented for yourself and your life. So it's not necessarily, hey, for the other person, but you really want to get in touch with what you are passionate about, and they're moving that you've created. So that way that you're the hell. Welcome back, Maggie. I'm just creating an enrollment conversation for our viewers so that they can be encouraged on how to encourage their kids to get their team together when it comes to all of the aspects that are necessary in the business. So the first is you create a background of relatedness. So just relate to them on what it is that is important to you about your business. Like, oh, hey, I think eating healthy is really important. That could be we're using the example of the baker kid as an example for the scenario, right? So a background of relatedness would be like, hey, we all like to eat healthy. I've been trying to work on eating healthy and not eating the bad things that are in the prepackaged goods. So I started making my own cookies. Or I started drawing. I wanted to be. I've loved art, and I think it makes me feel peaceful. So I started drawing. So the number one is you create a background of relatedness. Number two is to be authentic about where you have been being inauthentic. So this is the part where people can share what it is that has been stopping them or has hindered them in the past about what it is, because that actually helps people to relate to each other. So you're not really selling your idea or pitching your idea to the person. It's, look, I've wanted to, I've always loved gaming, but I never believed that I could be a professional gamer. But I realized that belief is crazy, because if somebody else can do it, then I can do it.
Right.
Being authentic about it, not feeling sorry for yourself, being authentic about where you've been and authentic. Right. Then the step 3 is that the impact that it has had on you and others. So for the baker kid, right? Since I've been eating this, my family and I, we've been feeling more healthy. We've been feeling more, active. Since I've been drawing, I feel more self-expressed, and other people have enjoyed the things that I've created for them. Whatever your product is, whatever your business is, you can format it around that. Like, what has been the impact that you've created for others, for yourself, and for others with your business, right? And then step 4 is the possibility you are inventing for yourself and your life, right? So that's sharing what you're up to within your business. So it could be, the possibility I'm creating is that eventually my business is so self-sustaining that I am able to be financially free, and I can do other things that I love with my life. Or the possibility that I'm creating is that I make a positive impact on the world of baking, where people are no longer eating processed foods or bad products. They're really enjoying the true, ingredients. Whatever your goal is, whatever your purpose is, whatever your joy is, and what the possibility is with, if you are successful with that business, what it is, and you share that with the people. And so the last step would be the victory that possibility is over the past. So that's where you basically, like, for generations, like what you said, Maggie, for generations, we've had people that were, business owners, and they were running their own businesses, and they had families, and they had legacies, and then now we don't have that. So I want to overcome that for my family, and for the people I want to have. So like what you were saying, I want to have something to pass on to my family, to my nieces, to my nephews, and so that's something that I would like to do with this business. And they can just create it. And that's basically creating kind of like a pitch, or enrollment conversation for whomever it is that they want to enroll in their business. And that can be the steps that just give you a resource that you can have a step-by-step process on conversation, and teaching your kids how to have that conversation so that they can then enroll those other players in their business that is necessary to have that thing be successful. So that's a resource that I found for. Oh, and by the way, and so the last thing, which is part of a registration conversation. So this is the last part. The last part of the registration conversation, or the only part really, is asking them. I think that's the most important thing that we forget to do. And it's the scariest part when it comes to what we're up to. But actually ask them to register for your business, for whatever it is. Hey, this is my business. This is what I'm doing. This is what I've overcome. And this is blah, 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 blah. Would you like to invest in a business? Would you like to become a salesperson? Would you like to purchase some cookies? Would you like to have these cookies in your store? That last part, which is so important, we usually forget because that's always the scariest part. Like, here's this great thing. Here's this awesome party. Would you like to come to the party? Like, and that registration part is really important, because that's where you get your customers. So with that, so I complete with that. Now,
we have a question. Hold on, I'm gonna pop it up here. Everybody can see it. What would you do with your kids if they don't know what it is that they like?
I would keep exposing them. Get them involved in different things and different clubs. Let them try out stuff. Whenever I see something like a sign that says, oh, there are kids doing this or kids doing that, and it seems interesting to me, I always ask my kids, hey, do you want to try this? Do you want to come look at this? Just to get them to think about it. And if they say yes, that's one more new thing that they probably weren't even thinking about. Because a lot of times for kids, they have to see it to make a connection with it, or know that it exists to make a connection with it. Kids being born, being knowing who they want to be, that's rare. Like, we know that because we're adults, and most of us don't know what we want to do. So that's very rare. You have to really introduce your kids to the world. And, when you see things that sound cool, introduce them to it. Take them in. Even if you don't want to, sometimes you have to pay for stuff like that a lot. But what you could do is take them into the place, let them look around, see if they like it, if they're gelling, and then you can decide whether you want to invest in it for them. But that's what I like to do with my kids. I like, every time I see something that I think is cool, I'm like, let me run this by them. Let me let them come to this place and see what they say. And I don't force, like, if I can tell they're not into it, then it is what it is. But at least eventually they're being introduced to all these things, and eventually they're going to start attaching themselves to something that interests them. And then from there, it's just life experiences and the ball is rolling. That's what I think. But what do y'all say in panel? Because, we have other parents on here.
I mean, I'm not a
I
parent, but
agree.
I know how I was encouraged. They just asked me, if we just genuinely ask our kids, like,
What they like.
yeah, like,
That's true.
I remember as a kid knowing what I liked. My mom didn't really necessarily listen to me when he's like, "Well, what do you like to do?" Like, well, I like playing video games. Like, that's what I like to do.
She's not like, that's not a thing.
No, that's not a thing. Like, what else do you like? Because I don't like what you like. It's
Right. Yeah,
and
that's
I
true.
think that'll be another thing. Just authentically ask them, as if you don't know the answers, and just
Yeah.
listen, because the kids might like something that's so different. And it's like, hey, I like surgery. That they might be into that because they saw a video. I don't know. So I think that'll be a thing. Maggie, by the way, I had a question for you. We have about 4 minutes left in the broadcast.
Okay.
And it's also like maybe a suggestion as well for more resources for the parents and for the kids later on with this awesome project that you're doing, which I acknowledge and thank you for just on behalf of human being, to create places for kids to come and be encouraged and have a place to have their dreams be a reality and have their businesses be successful and things like that. Would you be willing to take a survey at the end of your next one that you have, right, and ask some of these questions that we've been asking you, to the kids, like, hey, how did you know that you wanted to make this your business? And just ask the kids that, and ask the parents, what did you do to encourage them, and how did you find this thing? These little questions that we're asking, so that we have, like, some testimonials, so to speak, to identify with successful kid parent business endeavors. Yeah, relationships, and ask them, what did you do? Or, hey, for any other kids, ask the kids, for any other kids that have ideas and businesses, what would you encourage them to do? Because I think, man, people learn so much from children as well. Because a lot of them, they're magic, man. They're magic. Like, they know stuff that we don't know, or maybe we unlearn through education. But
Right.
Maybe take a little survey and have it up on your website or something as a resource for other parents that are working into getting their kids to have that type of entrepreneurial, business.
I think that's a great idea, and that's something I'm willing to do. That's a great idea. Yes.
Fantastic. Where can people find your?
Hold on, before we get to that point, because I want to make sure, because she got disconnected, so it's okay if we go a little bit over. I want to be sure, Maggie, is there anything that you want that we didn't ask that you want to get out to the listeners? Something that you want to say to make sure your messages come across the airwaves.
I just my only message is to just pay attention to your kids, be an encouragement. If I'm a firm believer, if you could dream it, you believe in it, then you can achieve it. I'm big on that, and I just encourage people to continue to support. This is a fresh start for me. This is something that I've just envisioned. I'm going to keep going with it, but I just pray that people continue to support it, and it could become bigger and better.
Awesome.
And it will. It will.
It will. I'm claiming that right now because it's so needed. It's so important. And I think that the more that children who are, more pure than us adults, have the opportunities to express themselves and create businesses, that the world actually will be better for it, because there are kids coming up with some amazing inventions and things that I wouldn't even thought of. And they're coming up with stuff because they don't have a lot of the barriers and blocks. So if those kids weren't encouraged when the one kid said, hey, there's got to be an easier way to find out if somebody has diabetes or cancer, and then they're like, oh, well, maybe this and maybe that. And they figured out. Now you can just like prick your finger and find out if you have cancer, like certain types of cancer. And not just a kid in his basement, in his garage that, oh, well, I don't, there's got to be a better way. And he was just encouraged, and they figured out some, proteins and stuff like that. So, and I think really the kids can fight that we can't figure out. So I think it's really.
And you saying your next event is on the 21st?
Yes, December 21st, and it's going to be at Carbon Ranches Daycare Center from 6 to 9.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I want to make sure December 21st. So if you're available on the 14th, let's do have you back on, because I know by that time you have your flyers and everything ready for the event. But we can do, put you on the spot for like 10 minutes to talk about the event, where it's going to be located, where people can sign up. So we can do that before your event and support you in that way, and tell people where they can donate, come to donate toys and things of that nature. So we'd like to have you back on so we can support that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. I'm so glad we got to have you on this show, because you are so important to our community. You have no idea. So I'm so glad that you took us up on this offer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely. Where can we find you at? Where can we find your glasses? Did you say you got a sunglass company? Sunglasses?
Yes. You can find me Couture Eye Candy on Facebook and on Instagram. It's Couture with the K and Candy with the K.
Okay. And we're gonna make sure we put that in the description. So I'm gonna make sure Sophie gets that information from me, so we can put that in the description. So you said Couture Candy.
Eye Candy.
Couture Eye Candy. On Instagram and Facebook.
And my Facebook is Denise Lane. My personal Facebook.
So is it okay for people that watch this and they have kids to contact you and see if they can attend your events and things like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is there an email that you have that they can email you, and if we want to send donations or link up with you to have our kids attend your event, there's an email?
Okay, my email is maglan01@yahoo.com.
Perfect. All right, Maggie, it was great having you on. This is definitely a topic that we're going to continue to discuss throughout the, our online cookout. So this is only part one of many, and glad that we can have you a part of it.
Okay.
Bye, Maggie. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Ooh, 2 down.
All right.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. Thank you, Sophia, for that recommendation. I was saying thank you, Sophia, for that recommendation.
Yeah. She's really busy. She's a really busy woman. Yeah. So people need to see her. They need to know that women are moving like that. She's pretty busy.
Yeah. So viewers out there, please use the resources that we are, making available for you on this. We're not doing this just for ourselves, but part of it is for ourselves. We also are. This is an entrepreneurial, investment that we're making in ourselves. That's true. Right. So make sure you support that. And if you like what we're doing, if you like that we're creating these topics and having these things available for you guys, make sure you like and write down comments and subscribe, even if it's after the show. Go ahead and write the comments, and we'll try and work those in and answer those on next shows and things like that, or the next time we have the same topic come up. Hit the bell, because we greatly appreciate it, and share it as much as you can. That way, something with the YouTube algorithm. Just the views don't necessarily do it anymore, right? It's more like comments and the likes and the subscriptions and things like that. So please, subscribe. It really help us out. We really do appreciate it. And for those who have already subscribed, thank you. We're on our road to 1,000 subscribers. And I don't know how much we got, but it's going to be awesome looking back at this episode when we have like 1 million subscribers in the future, right? So thank you so much for people that are getting in on the ground floor and supporting us as we're doing one of our dreams right now.
I don't like my little plugins. I know you guys see my little.
I do.
I like it. Hey, the producer. The producer. Yeah. So
he's behind the scenes.
Can I get my producing credits?
Producer, yeah, just so you guys know out there, Jamare Clarington is the one that created this for us and this platform. He's running all of the stuff, make all these people come in and come out, and all these cool things that you're getting right here, all these cool things that you're getting. Like it's a real show, because it is a real show now. The online cookout is a place to
Definitely. So guys, we gotta hit the helm. We gotta have somebody for next week or a topic for next week. So get on that. If our viewers, our subscribers, if you have a topic that you would like us to discuss, put that in a comment.
Let us know.
Share this. Well, let's go, guys. I'm about to be out. It's Jamare, Collins, Sophia. We're out of here.
Bye. See y'all. Jamare, did you hit that button?